Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to The Brian Nichols Show.
I do think that we in the Liberty Movement may have a golden opportunity here, and I think we'll probably get to this later in the show. But now that people are actually admitting that lockdowns don't work, and we basically just put the entire country out of work for absolutely no reason and all that, I think coming up this year, it could be our time to shine. I think a lot of people might be more willing to listen to us than they otherwise would be.
Well, not only should it be our time to shine, I mean, it's our responsibility, I think,
100%.
at this point, because you look at it, right, Brady? When you look at the left and the right, traditionally, we've seen in America the pendulum swing from the left to the right. Every 4, 8, 10 years or so, you'll see it inevitably swing back and forth. But it pretty much stays in this left-right paradigm. And I think a lot of folks, to what we were just speaking to earlier, are starting to realize this left-right paradigm, this pendulum that's been swinging back and forth for 200 plus years now, maybe it's not exactly the best way to govern society. And actually, to the contrary, maybe we actually start to look at some other alternatives out there beyond this duopoly we've been focusing on now for pretty much our entire American history, and start to focus on alternative means of not just, voting, but also looking at the different parties that are out there. And I say all that. I'm having a debate over my show. Not really a debate. It's more of a roundtable discussing ranked choice voting versus that of approval voting with Aaron Hamlin for the Center for Election Science and Kyle Bailey up from Maine. Actually, was helping Maine get their ranked choice voting proposals into action. So discussing the differences that we can vote to change how the systems are, but also, how we can reach people. And I say that because right now people are looking again to different ways of doing things, looking to learn, say, well, this is how we've always done things. What's the alternative? What's different that we can do that will yield a different result? And it's on us to not scare them away by telling them that they're not libertarian enough to even have a conversation with us, but rather to say, hey, listen, you're asking the right questions because you're identifying the similar problems that we're identifying. And the problem is the solutions that have been presented far too often from the left and the right have only exacerbated the problems. And we really need to have a fundamental change in the way that we're addressing these problems. And instead of trying to slap Band-Aid solutions onto these, very, very large and in many cases institutional problems, we really need to have these very tough, difficult conversations where it requires us to sit down with one another and actually talk about the things that we disagree with. And this is one thing, I saw a meme the other day that made me kind of chuckle because it's so sad, because it's true that we've seen an entire generation where we've been told not to talk about the things that make us feel uncomfortable because you just kind of want to go along to get along. You don't want to ruffle the feathers. You just want to kind of go with the status quo. And yet that has led to a society where we know so little about what the other side, air quote, thinks. And we actually think they think the exact opposite. In many cases, we build up in our heads what the straw man argument is, and it becomes the reality. It becomes what we actually believe they believe. And it's sad if you go to ask somebody, what's a libertarian belief? What's a conservative belief? What's a leftist belief? They'll probably give you the caricature version. But to actually ask that person, what do you believe? You're going to find out that they actually identify a lot of the same problems that we see every single day. And where we need to get better at, and I'm saying this as folks in the greater liberty movement, is look for areas of empathy where we can start to meet people, right, on that one-on-one basis. And with us meeting them on that one-on-one level and talking about those issues that really matter to them, we can become that trusted advisor, right? We can become that person that they come to and start to ask questions beyond the traditional questions that, maybe you'd ask about politics, but more philosophical questions, right? Digging beyond the conservative and liberal, talking points. And let's actually get to the meat of these issues, the root of a lot of these problems. And I think what we're going to find, and we are starting to find, is at the root of all these problems tends to be the state. And the state has been, time and again, when I talk to folks from the left and the right, it tends to be the bad guy. I mean, I just had it at my show, Armaya Fanayan. Armaya is the head of the SLC Pink Pistols out in Utah. Started out on the March for Our Lives organization after seeing. Yes, dude, this is wild, right? She leads Pink Pistols for LGBTQ rights, and with that, she completely changed her entire view on gun control because she realized that her as a transgendered person, and also those in the transgender community, were not being protected by government. And my goodness, she said we need to be able to defend ourselves. And that's something that we can build a common ground with in terms of building principles going forward, because we're already acknowledging the same problem. States dropping the ball, the state, and actually in many cases is actually facilitating the problems. So if we're acknowledging that and we're coming to that agreement, then we can start to plant the seeds of, hey, well, look at the other areas that we have government problems. And what's funny, Brady, this is the part that drove me crazy, is that Ermaya is a devoted leftist, and on my show explained why. And in my asking, you could hear that the questions of like, okay, well, if we're acknowledging the state has some problems in defending people, then why do you believe that the state's going to be able to put forth complete equality across the board? And you can see kind of, well, I really haven't been able to grapple with that question, but here's the talking point. But it's something that definitely is going to plant that seed of that, right? And this is, I think, the end game. And I'll say this for a sales perspective, you're not going to get somebody to instantly be like, hey, you're right? You just need to let them kind of percolate and have that kind of sit there on their own. And then it's going to be 2 months later, they'll be at the dinner table, and they'll be talking with their crazy uncle, and he'll say something, and they'll be like, what that crazy libertarian say about that one thing that kind of made sense? I think they are right, and I'm seeing it applied in X position that we're talking about, or X circumstance here, and that's where we're going to have the most success. You're not going to see that tree grow overnight. It takes time, and with that, we actually have to be willing to let it take the time. But at the same point in time, right, we can't be just like going back to that tree and watering it every single day and expecting it to grow, because otherwise we're going to completely drown it. And we see that, right? Libertarians saying, read this book, read this book, and here, read another book. That's not how you convert people over to libertarianism. You convert them over by telling stories, finding common ground, being a problem solver. And then once you become that problem solver, start to solve the issues in their life and create value, right? And that's where, as a party, we've really dropped the ball.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.